Corrie ten Boom grew up in the Netherlands, in a cozy home above her father's little watch shop. The smell of metal and clock oil filled the air, the steady tick, tick, tick of the clocks echoing through the walls. Her family was warm, loving, and deeply devoted to God. When the Nazis invaded Holland during World War II, everything changed. Corrie, her father Casper, and her sister Betsy couldn't just stand by while their Jewish neighbors were hunted down. So they did something incredibly brave. They started hiding Jewish families inside their home. Behind a false wall in Corrie's bedroom, they built a secret space, the hiding place. Sometimes 6 or more people would cram inside. Corrie could still remember the faint scent of dust and plaster, the sound of whispered prayers, and the pounding of boots outside whenever the Gestapo searched nearby. They risked everything to protect others, and eventually, someone betrayed them. One freezing February morning in 1944, the ten Boom family was arrested. Corrie was separated from her father, and she never saw him again. He died just days after being taken away. Corrie and her sister Betsy were sent to Ravensbrück, a brutal women's concentration camp in Germany. The stench of sweat, sickness, and decay hung in the air. They were packed into wooden bunks, infested with fleas, and fed watery soup that smelled like rotten cabbage. Every day was a fight to survive. Guards shouted orders, dogs barked, women screamed, and through all of it, Betsy's voice somehow remained calm and full of faith. "Corrie," she'd whisper, "there is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still." Even in that place of horror, Betsy prayed for their captors. Corrie couldn't understand how. Watching guards mock and beat women for sport filled her with anger and disgust. But Betsy kept saying, "We must tell people what we've learned here, that God's love can shine even in the darkest places." Then, one cold morning, Betsy's frail body finally gave out. Corrie held her sister's hand as she took her last breath. The silence that followed was deafening. A few days later, Corrie was unexpectedly released. Later, she'd learn it was because of a clerical error. The women in her age group who stayed behind were all sent to the gas chamber soon after. Corrie walked out of that nightmare alive, but broken. After the war, Corrie traveled across Europe, sharing her story. She talked about God's love, mercy, and forgiveness, about how Jesus can heal even the deepest wounds. Then one evening, in 1947, she was speaking at a church in Munich, Germany. The message was simple. When we confess our sins, God casts them into the deepest ocean, gone forever. As people began to leave, Corrie saw a man moving toward her through the crowd. Her breath caught in her throat. She recognized him instantly, one of the guards from Ravensbrück. She saw again the cold showers, the pile of women's clothes, her sister's fragile face. Her stomach twisted, her hands trembled. The man stopped in front of her. "Fräulein," he said softly, "I was a guard at Ravensbrück. But since then, I have become a Christian. I know God has forgiven me for the cruel things I did, but I would like to hear it from your lips. Fräulein, will you forgive me?" He extended his hand, and Corrie froze. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. It was like time stopped. Inside, a battle was raging. Everything in her screamed, "No!" She remembered Betsy's last words. "We must tell them that God's love is stronger than hate." Still, she couldn't feel it, so she prayed silently right there in that church. "Jesus, I can't forgive him. Give me your forgiveness." And then something happened. She felt a warmth start in her shoulder, move down her arm and into her hand, almost like an electric current. She reached out and took his hand. Tears filled her eyes. "I forgive you, brother," she said, "with all my heart." In that moment, the bitterness and pain that had clung to her for years began to melt away. She realized forgiveness wasn't about how she felt. It was an act of obedience, a choice. Corrie later said, "Forgiveness is not an emotion. It's an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart." That day, she didn't just set the man free, she set herself free too. Corrie spent the rest of her life traveling the world, telling her story, the story of God's love, even in the darkest places. She reminded people that forgiveness isn't saying what happened was okay. It's choosing to let God heal what hate has broken. Her story is a reminder that even when forgiveness feels impossible, with God, it's not.
Corrie's story shows the incredible power of forgiveness. Now, what happens to your faith when it's tested by need, when there's no food, no money, no plan? That's exactly what George Mueller faced, caring for thousands of orphans without ever asking for money. Click on the video that just popped up on your screen to listen to his story.